Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers currently has two big problems in his game that are not only holding him back, but holding back the Steelers offense as a whole right now. And I don't think it's what most Steelers fans think it is right now. So on today's show here on Steelers Talk, first I'm going to talk about what isn't the problem. I'll talk about some of the kind of popular talking points surrounding Rodgers and why I think those are wrong. Then I'll talk about the two real issues that I think Steelers fans should be focusing on. Then I'm going to let you guys know whether Steelers fans should have hope for Aaron Rodgers as we head down the home stretch of the 2025 NFL season. Now, kick us off down there in the comment section. Do you believe in Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section to get today's show started. All right, so first, let's just take a look here at the general numbers that Aaron Rodgers has put out for the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. And so far, when you look at the entirety of the big picture of what he's put on tape, he's been a below average NFL starting quarterback, all right? He doesn't rank it really in the top 16 in really any of the major categories, and in many of the key categories, he's like bottom 10. So, especially over the last 3 weeks, I would say his numbers have taken quite a bit of a dip. And, when you look at the entire big picture over the entirety of the season, this is what you come up with, where he's not super successful, he's not, super efficient, he's not super accurate, he's kind of around league average at best in these categories, and he's, in many of these categories, bottom 5 or bottom 10 among starters right now. So, what exactly is the problem? And that's what we're going to be discussing on today's show. And first, I want to tell you guys what's not the problem. I think that there's a lot of different narratives surrounding Aaron Rodgers out there, and some of them are correct, and we're going to talk about some of those points later in today's show. But there's also a couple narratives that I believe are wrong. All right, the first one is that it's Aaron Rodgers' age, or that his body is deteriorating, and that's why he hasn't played as well over the last month, and he hasn't played really top 15 level football this year. Don't think that's the case. And then his pocket management and quote unquote holding the ball too long is a kind of a new one that has popped up. I'll explain why I don't think either of these are the issue for Aaron Rodgers. All right, first of all, talking about the first point, Aaron's arm is still extremely live. I mean, anybody that's been around Rodgers this year tells you about how, quickly the ball comes out, how it's still, a really good spiral, how the arm strength is clearly still on there. He threw a ball 70 yards in the air on a Hail Mary earlier this season. Obviously, his rotational throwing motion and all that different stuff, it has really translated to him still having his arm strength. And, despite him not being the fastest guy in the world anymore, I mean, he's 41 years old. He doesn't really have, any speed to run away from players anymore. He does have very quick and active feet in the pocket. And, his footwork has been a big point of contention here over the last couple days, especially on Steelers Twitter. But honestly, his feet have been praised by guys like John Gruden, for example, who tweeted this out earlier this year, just a couple weeks back. Watching Aaron Rodgers play quarterback reminds me of a boxer in the ring, talking about his quick feet. His feet are always moving. It's a joy to watch. So this is actually something that is considered a good thing when quarterbacks have quick feet. Aaron Rodgers has always had that as a part of his game. People are talking about Aaron Rodgers like he has quote-unquote happy feet, or that he's quote-unquote jumpy, and it's negatively affecting his game. But he's literally always played that way, and it's been one of the actual benefits to his game for many, many years. And by the way, nobody talked about this when he was playing better earlier in the season, but now that he's starting to struggle, it's all of a sudden becoming a talking point. And that really is the new narrative now. I mean, I see it time and time and time again on Steelers Twitter now, guys, where I keep hearing people saying he's holding onto the ball too long, he's creating his own pressure, he's doing all this stuff, he's not sticking in the pocket, quote unquote, and it's hurting the offense. Now, I think that the reason why this narrative has come to the forefront is because, he was holding the ball for longer than he usually does against the Cincinnati Bengals last week. He had by far the longest average time to throw for him on the season, 3.49 average time to throw versus the Bengals, which was, over a half second longer than any other average that he had this season. His next highest was also against the Bengals when he had one of his better games of the year, by the way, with 2.91 second average time to throw. So, certainly, Rodgers was holding the ball for a little bit longer than what we're used to seeing from him last week, but it has not been something that has created more pressure necessarily. His pressure rate versus the Bengals on Sunday was less than 30%, and the average is like a 35 or 36% pressure rate. So in terms of the amount of pressure Rodgers was facing and was quote unquote creating for himself, it was still at a below league average rate. So I don't know why that this has become a big talking point with Rodgers. I think people are just looking at kind of the quicker feet, and they're not used to seeing quarterbacks play with the kind of footwork Rodgers plays with, and they just think automatically that that's a negative thing, and they kind of attribute that to Rodgers' poor play. But, like, this has not been an issue for Aaron Rodgers this year, guys, okay? Like, he gets the ball out very quickly. He currently leads the NFL in the fastest average time to throw at just 2.59 seconds, and then his pressure rate is only at 28.9 this year, which is the lowest in the National Football League. So, this is not something that has been a big issue for Aaron Rodgers. In fact, it's been a big upgrade compared to what the Steelers dealt with last year with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. You guys can take a look at their sack percentages and their pressure percentages with their time here in Pittsburgh. I mean, Russ and Fields were like not even in the top 35 in sack rate and pressure rate. Aaron Rodgers is above league average in sack percentage, and he's first in the league in pressure percentage. Now, obviously, a higher percentage of the times that he is pressured, he ends up getting sacked because he's not very athletic. He can't escape as well as he used to. But the fact that he's getting the ball out quickly is meaning less sacks for the Steelers offense this year from a percentage basis, and that has overall been a positive for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense and an upgrade for the Steelers offense compared to what they've dealt with in seasons past. Now, coming up here, I will be discussing two big problems that Aaron Rodgers currently does face in his game that I think is holding him back and is holding the Steelers offense back as a whole. But before we get into those two big problems, let me know down there in the comment section for today's pinned question, what do you guys think is Aaron Rodgers' biggest issue? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. Just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Harry's. And while I tell you about Harry's, make sure you get down there in the comment section and let me know what you think A-Rod's biggest problem is. Now, with that, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Harry's. And I don't have to tell you guys that maneuvering the men's razor space is a bit of a nightmare nowadays. The quality products are always super expensive, and refilling those products are always really expensive as well. Then when you try and save a little bit of money, you get stuck with dull razors that you can really only use once, and they irritate your skin. And that's exactly why I switched to Harry's Plus, and I haven't looked back since. Harry's Plus has an advanced pivoting system to reach every corner of your face, refined blade tech for closer, smoother shaves, and a weighted metal handle, which is Harry's heaviest handle ever for added control and comfort. But I think the best part about Harry's Plus is how affordable it is. Harry's owns their own world-class blade factory in Germany, which means no outsourcing and no middleman. And because they control the entire process from steel to shelf, they keep costs low and pass the savings on to you, the customer. And if you don't love your shave, Harry's will make it right with you, no questions asked. Their risk-free trial means there's zero downside to giving them a shot. And I actually brought my Harry's Plus razor to show you guys that I actually do use and love this product. And I love the Harry's Plus razor in particular because of the weighted metal handle. It just gives that extra little sense of premium quality. And then, of course, the German engineered blades that are in all of Harry's products give you a barbershop quality shave without breaking the bank. So for a limited time only, our listeners can get Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. That set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, one refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head on over to harrys.com/chat to claim this offer, and after your purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. A big thank you to Harry's for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. So the first problem that I want to talk about here when it comes to Aaron Rodgers is his downfield accuracy and efficiency. Okay, and this has actually been something where from year to year, the Steelers have actually downgraded at the quarterback position. Russell Wilson was one of the most proficient downfield quarterbacks in the entire league last season. His issue was he couldn't throw underneath efficiently. He couldn't, mentally process a defense, and that's not a problem with Rodgers. But with Rodgers this season, his downfield passing stats have been, let's say, less than stellar. Okay, like he's not ranking in the top 20 in any of the key metrics in terms of accuracy that you look for on passes 10-plus air yards down the field. He's not even ranking in the top 32 in completion percentage in this category, and they honestly don't do it all that often. And, what's kind of weird is that Aaron Rodgers actually leads the NFL in downfield touchdown percentage. Almost 20% of his downfield throws end up becoming touchdowns. But, in terms of the efficiency there, it's just not at the same level as this offense was with Russell Wilson throwing the ball 10-plus yards down the field in 2024. And then when you extend it out to 20-plus yards, it's still not great, right? Not ranking, in the top 15 or above league average in any of these key metrics. And, this has actually been an issue since camp. I mean, this is something that we've been talking about since Latrobe, where Aaron Rodgers, he'd be able to, pepper those kind of quick game kind of concepts and, get the ball out fast. But he had some trouble locating DK Metcalf down the field and kind of connecting with his receivers, 10 and 20-plus yards down the field. And honestly, it was an issue for Aaron Rodgers last year with the New York Jets. It was one of his biggest bugaboos last year is that he just wasn't very efficient throwing the ball down the field. And you guys can take a look at his downfield passing stats last year in New York, and it's very similar, where he's not completing a high number of his passes. He's not throwing, a high number of his passes on target or catchable either. And, the passer rating is as low as it gets among NFL starting quarterbacks. So as Aaron Rodgers maybe has aged, and maybe after that Achilles injury, and as he's getting older, and he's never had the best throwing mechanics. He's always had the arm talent to make up for some poor throwing mechanics. He's never really thrown with great base or anything like that. I think that might be catching up to him now that he's getting a bit older and coming off an Achilles tear just 2 seasons ago. But the second problem that I think has really led to the downgrade in play that we've seen from Rodgers over the last 3 weeks is I don't think he's been playing healthy. All right. I don't think that he's particularly played super healthy, especially on his throwing hand the last 3 games. And we have to remember here, guys, back in week 9, in the pregame, before the game versus the Colts, he jammed his finger in warmups, taking a snap from Zach Frazier. And I think that has really affected his game ever since then. And this kind of occurred to me yesterday. I was kind of thinking, Rodgers hasn't really played all that well the last 3 weeks. He's kind of had a downgrade in play over these last 3 games. And, I kind of remembered, hey, remember when he jammed his finger on his throwing hand pregame versus the Colts? And I kind of looked back and I was like, well, what did his numbers look like before the injury, and what does his numbers look like after the injury? And the difference is staggering, man. Just over the last 3 games, he's gone from 14th in adjusted EPA per play to 33rd in the National Football League. The success rate has largely stayed the same in terms of where he ranks in the National Football League, but his accuracy, his completion percentage over expected, goes from 8th in the league, a top 10 quarterback in terms of accuracy, to 31st. Okay, that certainly points to not having full control of the football. Then his yards per attempt efficiency goes from 15th to nearly 30th. And then his passer rating goes from top 10 in the league those first 8 weeks to 27th in the league. So obviously something has happened these last 3 weeks that has led to Rodgers, going from, a pretty league average quarterback and, playing pretty darn well. And a lot of people talking about Rodgers having to come back for another season and, people being excited about the way Rodgers was playing, to now people are talking about Mason Rudolph needing to start over him because he's playing that poorly. And now, according to a report from Ian Rappaport, Rodgers is pushing to play this week with a broken wrist on his non-throwing hand, but still, it's a broken wrist, right? And he might have to wear a brace that might affect the way that he goes out about playing the position. So right now he's dealing with a jammed finger that has clearly affected the way that he has been able to throw the football on his throwing hand. And now he's dealing with another injury to his upper body that could also maybe affect the way he throws the football. So I think my best advice that I could give to Aaron Rodgers at this point to fix this particular issue with his game right now is to get back to 100% health. All right. If I had the chance to talk with Aaron Rodgers, I'd be like, man, I know you can maybe theoretically play with these injuries, but you're not playing at a high level with whatever you're dealing with your finger. All right. You got to get back to 100% so you can play at the level that you were playing at before that injury. And the truth is, when Aaron's been healthy this year, he's been pretty darn good. I mean, you guys saw the numbers there. In the first 8 weeks, he was ranking in the top 10 in passer rating and completion percentage over expected. And, he was playing very efficient football. And, there was a reason why we were talking about Rodgers potentially coming back for another season and us being happy about that idea. It's because he was playing good football, but over the last 3 weeks, that just hasn't been the case. And my worry is if he continues to play on that jammed finger and continues to play on that broken wrist, I just feel like it's not going to get better. It might even get worse. And until he gets back to 100%, I'm not sure if we're going to see the Aaron Rodgers we saw in the first half of the season. But some other ways that Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator, can help out Aaron Rodgers in the weeks to come. I think you can get under center more often. I think this offense is much more proficient when we're under center, play action, passing. You'll get Rodgers rolling out to the right, all that different stuff. I think that this offense just works better than the heavy shotgun stuff that we see from Rodgers when this team goes pass happy. Also, have an awesome run game. That's a big part of it as well. We certainly have the talent in the running back room to get the job done there. I would say use Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin more. Get them going on more than just like stop routes or go routes. You actually use their skill sets as route runners. And target the intermediate middle of the field more with Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin, because those two guys can run good routes. It's just I don't think they're utilized in this offense as much as they should be. Also, I would bench Jonnu Smith, and I would play DW and Pat Freiermuth at tight end for a large majority of the tight end snaps in this offense. And then obviously it helps when your defense is playing at a high level. I mean, even over this last 3-game stretch where Rodgers hasn't played great football, the Steelers are 2-1, and they're still getting victories because the defense has taken their game to the next level. So listen, man, when it comes to the big picture here and heading towards a potential playoff berth for the Steelers, if you can get a healthy Aaron Rodgers back and he can get that kind of throwing hand back to where it was, where it's 100% good to go. He can grip the football the way that he wants to, and it's not affecting his accuracy. I think this team as a whole can be very dangerous. If you can combine the way that the Steelers' defense is playing right now and the way Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers' offense was playing during that stretch of like the Dublin game all the way to the Packer game, if you can combine those two versions of the Steelers team here, I think that you could have a very dangerous team come playoff time and a team that can beat any team in the National Football League in a playoff setting. So hopefully Aaron Rodgers can get healthy here soon. I think he does give this team the best possible chance to win playoff games this year and go on a run to potentially win a 7th Lombardi trophy. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Was the percent chance that Pittsburgh wins a playoff game this season? Put it on a scale of 0, meaning no chance. There's no way they win a playoff game this year, to 100%, meaning you can book it, take it to the bank, bet the house on it. The Steelers are winning the playoff game this year. That'll be it for today's first Steelers Talk video of the day. Make sure you guys type those real ones down there in the comment section so we can give some love to you down there in the comment section. Making it to the end of our videos, guys, it helps the YouTube algorithm because YouTube is seeing you go to the end of the video, and that obviously is an indication that you enjoyed today's content. So I want to give some love to the people that made it to the end of today's show. And then later today, Ponzi and I will be going live here on Steelers Talk starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Time to talk about the latest surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers. So make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and join us later for Tomlin Tuesday's edition of Steelers Talk.